consequences of intergenerational trauma are far-reaching and can be difficult to understand at times. It is something that all social service workers and mental health addiction workers will be confronted with. It is your responsibility to know how to safely work with the individuals and communities that live each day with intergenerational trauma. The purpose of this video is to convince you that as a potential social service worker or mental health addiction worker, that it is vital to not only take the class on intergenerational trauma, but to fully recognize the importance of this issue. Intergenerational trauma is the result of centuries of racist colonial practices that stretch from the time of European contact to this very day. Denied any opportunity to practice their own culture, many indigenous people were forced to adapt to a strange new way of life. This resulted in a number of unintended consequences, including the use of drugs or alcohol as coping mechanisms, a disproportionately high incarceration rate, and high infant mortality and suicide rate. These are all examples of the ways that intergenerational trauma manifests and demonstrates the dire need for people who can safely identify and work with people that are experiencing intergenerational trauma. As the name suggests, there is something that is carried from one generation to the next. When a parent is uprooted from their home and sent to a residential school, they will not have a functional framework for what good childcare looks like. As a result, there is a good chance that they will carry on this pattern of trauma and abuse without knowing why or how to break the cycle. Recognizing and understanding intergenerational trauma is where we can begin to help. As non-Indigenous students, it can be difficult for us, and especially for those of us coming from a North American perspective, to put ourselves in the shoes of a person living with intergenerational trauma. To look at healing practices and decolonization can seem completely foreign to many of us. These Indigenous ways of being and healing are not to be balked at, and have been shown to help Indigenous people to cope with colonial trauma. In order to truly make the most of your intergenerational trauma education, it is important to recognize that other cultures will view the world in other ways. It is vital that you will realize that your own worldview, even if more in line with Western mainstream society, is not a dominant one. One worldview is not better than any other. It is about being able to see all of the different ways of being and recognizing the merits that each presents.